And welcome in. You're looking at New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who has just cast his vote today. Is New Jersey one of the final 6 states going to the polls on this Super Tuesday? In Mendham, New Jersey, let's take a listen.
Any of their views regarding how they're treated in the civil or criminal courts in this country. That's part of what free speech is all about. And frankly, you know, it kind of bothers me that you see the other side here, Secretary Clinton especially, taking this kind of high and mighty position of hers, when Secretary Clinton's had a lot to say over the course of her career as well, regarding vast right-wing conspiracies that turned out not to exist, and impugning the integrity of lots of other people. So let's focus on what needs to be focused on here. And quite frankly, I think you all are paying much too much attention to this. I know why, but you know it doesn't occupy. I know you know why, and I know why. It's not going to occupy.
Is it racist? Is it racist?
Let me finish my answer.
Is it racist?
Excuse me, or you won't get a question. You know me. I won't do it. Fact is that media loves controversy. The media loves to pay attention to this stuff and to work it up. I understand why. I've lived with that over the course of time too. But the fact of the matter is that I can guarantee you that you know, people who are going to vote today in New Jersey and people who are going to vote in November are not going to make their decision based upon this kerfuffle. I guarantee.
Do you think it's racist? Do you think it's racist?
Matt?
But in all fairness, isn't this inconsistent with what you said about her judicial nomination?
Back up, Anthony.
Either race or ethnicity or religion is
No, listen, Matt, it's not inconsistent. When these are my nominations and when I'm defending people who I've nominated and who I know personally, I'm sure you're referring to Sohail Mohammed, and I knew Sohail personally, had worked with him for years, and so I knew that any allegations that Sohail in that instance was going to impose Sharia law or knew something about jihad, those were very specific things about someone that I knew personally. And when I have something to say about that, I'll say it. I don't know this judge. I don't know him personally. I don't know the history of the Trump University case. So I'm not going to get into speaking about all that. I've said this before, that I know Donald Trump. I've known him for 14 years. And Donald Trump is not a racist. And so, you know, the allegations that he is are absolutely contrary to every experience that I've had with him over the last 14 years. And so we're going to end it there.
So are those comments racist? Don't you think
we're not going into that. Next.
Do you support him still?
Well, listen, you know what? Congressman Ryan is entitled to his opinion, as is everybody else who has an opinion on this. I've expressed mine, and if all we're going to do is talk about this, I'm going to get in the car and go back because I've given you my opinion. You have other questions about me to answer them.
Was it a mistake?
Michael, I am not going to get into critiquing a campaign that we're in the middle of. There'll be plenty of times for post-mortem after the campaign is over, and you want to ask me about it then, that's fine. But I'm not going to microanalyze every bit of a campaign because you know what? The voters don't. And what matters here is winning and losing, first and foremost. And what matters here is where the country's direction will be after whoever wins this election. That's what I'm focused on. That's my job for Donald. Is to focus on setting up a government once he's elected in November, and that's what my focus is for him. It's not in micromanaging. It's not in micromanaging the campaign. If we've got questions other than the the judge kerfuffle, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm moving on.
Governor, how about your approval? 26%.
My approval rating goes up and down in the state. I've said this before. Said when I was at 75% I didn't believe it, and when I'm at 26% I don't believe it. And the fact is that I don't govern, have never governed based upon my approval rating. You guys are much more concerned with my approval rating than I am. I'm never a candidate for office again in this state, and so quite frankly my approval rating doesn't mean a lick to me. It didn't mean all that much to me when it was high, and it doesn't mean that much to me when I'm low. The fact is that I've got a job to do, and I have a tough job to do, and when you have to make difficult decisions, that's what happens. I've always said that you gather political capital in order to spend it. I've spent it on things that I thought were important. Now it's my opportunity over the next 18 months to build it back up. So not at all concerned about that. And nor, quite frankly, if I was, is there anything you can do about it today or tomorrow? Approval ratings go up and down over a long course of time. They've done it here. And quite frankly, the fact that I'm a two-term governor and have had the approval ratings I've had in a state that's one of the bluest states in the country is a fairly good testimony to the success of our policies and to to the popularity of the way we've gone about them. So it goes up and down. I'm not worried about
When
it.
you think about the poll, you're less than the legislature. For the first time,
It doesn't matter by 1 point or something. I mean, which is statistically insignificant. So come on. I mean, you guys can have as much fun with it as you want. You may not believe this. I don't care. If I were, excuse me, no, it's not coming from my constituents. The fact of the matter is that a pollster polls 400 people out of 8.9 million people. In the same way that I said to all of you, I've been consistent about this. When my poll ratings were up at 75%, I said to you, I don't believe them, and it doesn't matter to me. If you say that it's 75, you're consistent when you say it at 26. It doesn't really matter to me, and it's not, by the way, consistent with the interaction that I have with my constituents around the state. So I have to make tough decisions in this job. I'm under unrelenting attack, mostly from Democrats, some from members of the media as well. To the extent that people read or care about this stuff, that affects it too.
Does it matter how many votes? Does it matter how many votes Donald Trump gets in New Jersey today?
No.
Doesn't
I
matter.
thought it was going to, but he's clinched the nomination now, so it really doesn't matter at all what happens today. As long as Delegate Slate gets elected, which I'm confident that it will, none of the rest of it really matters.
Some part of you wish that this was you instead of him.
Co-conspirators be released, and if not, why not?
That's up to the court.
Some part of you wish that today this would have been you that had been at the top of
Every
the table.
part of me wishes that. Not some part of me, Anthony. Every part of me wishes it was me, but it's not. And that's the way elections go. So, yeah, I don't have any doubt, quite frankly, I don't have any doubt about the fact that I ran as good a race as I could run. And in a field of 17 people, Donald won. And so, every part of me wishes it were me today, but it's not. So I'm voting for the person that I think is the best person to beat Hillary Clinton in November, and I just voted for Donald Trump.
Would you like to be part of his cabinet or vice president?
You don't get to make those determinations.
Well, have you had any conversations?
No, I've said that before. I've had no conversation.
Are you plan on being with Trump tonight?
No.
Governor, is there anything Mr. Trump can learn from you about your ability to speak your opinion without offending people?
It's fascinating that I am now the person who can speak my mind without offending anybody. 12 months ago, all of you were asking me, was I going to change my manner in order to not offend people? Now all of a sudden I'm the person who doesn't offend anyone. Listen, Donald Trump is my friend, and to the extent that I've made this statement many times before, to the extent that I can help him be a better candidate and ultimately be a better president, I'm happy to help him in that regard because he's my friend and now he's the nominee in my party. So I'm happy to help him. But whether he can learn anything or not, that only time will tell about that. And I'm certainly not conceited enough to think that the guy who beat me in the race, I'm going to teach anything to. We're friends. We talk all the time, and anything that I can do to help, I'm happy to do so.
What do you think about the presidential VP nominee?
It's up to Hillary Clinton. My relationship with Senator Booker is well chronicled. I like Senator Booker. I have great respect for Senator Booker, and we've been friends over the last, 14 years. So I have great respect for Corey. He's a good guy, and I like him. But as to whether or not he should be Hillary Clinton's vice president, one, that's a decision only she can make, and two, I wouldn't want to express an opinion because if I did, I might actually hurt his chances. So I don't want to do that to Corey.
Can you stand there so I can?
Any other questions?
Governor, at any point do you think Mr. Trump's rhetoric has gone too far? Was there any point when you said, "Wow, that went over the limit"?
I am sure, if I sat back and thought about it, that there would be times that I would think that there were things that he said that he shouldn't have said. Quite frankly, he's admitted that over time there are things that he said that he shouldn't have said. But that happens to anybody in politics who speaks their mind. If you have this many microphones and cameras in front of you on a regular basis, and you're not, a pre-programmed robotic politician, you're going to make some statements at times that you wish you could take back. I've done it, he's done it, and anybody who's honest in this business has done it. So that doesn't make him any different than anybody else who has run for office before. And frankly, from my perspective, it's refreshing to have somebody who is willing to speak their mind and is not reading from a script. And there's lots of things you can say about Donald. He's not reading from a script. I guarantee you.
But Governor, he seems to double down.
Off ramp and consider unendorsing Donald Trump. Is there any situation?
Lindsey Graham has changed his mind about who he's endorsing and not endorsing so many different times that it's hard for me to keep track. I think Senator Graham has lost any credibility that he may have had at any time to give an opinion on this. And the fact is that Senator Graham was for himself. It's hard for me to keep track. Then he was for Jeb. Then I think he was for Marco. Then I think he was for Ted. after he told everybody that Ted could be murdered on the floor of the Senate by a fellow senator and he wouldn't get one vote for conviction. Then I heard he said some nice stuff about Donald. Now he's saying something else. Lindsey's lost any credibility he's had. He should worry about going back to South Carolina and trying to rebuild his base in South Carolina, or he won't be in the United States Senate for much longer.
So, Governor, you seem to be saying that you don't necessarily disagree with the idea that judges' ethnic heritage alone.
Now, Matt, I'm not answering your questions, Matt.
What about
Next.
violence at Trump rallies?
Listen, I think it's awful that Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton have sent their supporters there in order to commit violent acts. And I think it's a terrible thing. And I think that both Senator Sanders and Secretary Clinton this week denounced the people, finally, who are supporters of theirs, who are going to Donald's rallies only to create violence. We saw that going as far back as Chicago a couple of months ago. These are people who say that they're open and tolerant and understanding of others' views, yet they stand outside and commit violent protests. Everybody's allowed to protest. You can peacefully protest wherever you want. You oppose a candidate, go and protest peacefully. But they don't do that. They commit violent acts. And that's wrong. That's wrong for anybody to do.
Then how about
And so quite frankly, you know, Secretary Clinton and Senator Sanders should, in my view, be more outspoken and more direct about the fact that they want to instruct their supporters not to be violent when they're protesting at another candidate's rallies. It's simply wrong.
Anything to say to Hillary Clinton?
I don't worry about Cleveland at all. Cleveland will have great Secret Service protection, as every convention I've been to has had. I was there in 2000 in Philadelphia. I was there in 2012 in Tampa. And I'm sure that Cleveland will have the same level of great protection, separate areas for protesters, and all the rest of that they have at every national convention that they'll have in Philadelphia at the Democratic National Convention. So, no, I don't worry about Cleveland at all. I think Cleveland will be a celebration of our nominee and the official beginning of the fall campaign, and that'll be a good thing.
Anything to say about Hillary Clinton now that she has officially clinched the nomination?
Nothing more than I've said already. Now listen, she is simply, in my view, unqualified to be president of the United States, and I think the country would move in an even worse direction than it's moved in the last 8 years with Barack Obama, if in fact Hillary Clinton were elected president. So whether she's officially the nominee or she was just assumed to be the nominee doesn't change my view of Hillary Clinton. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Governor.
Well, that was New Jersey Governor Chris Christie casting his vote in Mendham Township. Again, New Jersey, one of the 6 states going to the polls today on this final Super Tuesday of the election cycle. And then afterward, discussing, among many things, the controversy surrounding Donald Trump's racially charged remarks regarding the federal judge overseeing the class action lawsuit regarding Trump University, to which Governor Christie referred to as a kerfuffle. He simply said he was not going to speak to the specifics regarding the lawsuit, but that he believes that the man he has known in Donald Trump for the last 14 years is not a racist, although he also, in referring to House Speaker Paul Ryan's earlier remarks today, said everyone is entitled to an opinion.